Hi, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm just going to touch on a subject just to encourage people who are starting out in their photography, the subject of sports photography. And I'm just going to share a few insights that I've gained over the years on sports photography and how to get started and how to go about it and what might eventuate along the way for you. You may already have been taking photos for some time and already doing this, so you probably don't need to watch. But anyway, I'm going to be reading off the screen here with some notes that I've put down, and I'll just share some of the points along the way. So the first thing you should do is start off with what is locally available to you to photograph. And the first thing that I started photographing in sports was my children playing school sports. And remember, one of them was playing soccer, and I took my camera along, my Pentax Spotmatic, and the very first game that I photographed was, and I got this shot of this young boy getting his first ever goal in soccer. I don't know what he ever went on to, whether he played serious soccer later on, but anyway, I ended up selling some copies of the print to his parents, and it was just such an exciting thing to capture that moment when someone scores a goal in soccer, in any sport really. But for this young boy just starting his soccer career, if he ever had one, I don't know. But to me, it was, just change that a little bit, it was a very exciting thing to capture, and I thought, well, there's some potential in this. Okay, so start with what's locally available, and usually it's with your children in their sports, but it can be other things. And sports I have photographed over the years have been many. Because of my own involvement in sport and also my children's involvement and other friends. So some of the sports I've photographed are cricket, AFL, which is Australian rules football, basketball, soccer, lacrosse, gridiron, skateboarding, snow skiing, boxing, triathlon, presentation nights, and celebratory events, best and fairest winners. And finals matches, grand finals of different codes of sport are always a good thing to have your camera there. And when I say taking photos of sport, I don't rule out video, because I used to do video as well, and I still do some video. So one of the things I mentioned there was presentation nights. We've got a few of, this is a couple of, one of my trophies, a football trophy in Amateur League for the Postal Institute. So you have presentation nights where things like this get presented. This is another one from of mine from playing football up in Darwin, Australian rules football up in Darwin. And my three boys were also very good lacrosse players. And here's a lacrosse, this one's a bit wobbly, it needs tightening up, but here's a lacrosse trophy for one of my kids. And I photographed lacrosse grand finals and games. For about 10 years I covered lacrosse, and I'd never ever seen the sport until my kids played it. But I soon picked on, worked out how it's played and learnt the finer points of the game. And I used to photograph the junior teams and the A-grade teams and grand finals and videos and whatever. And I did sell a few photos doing that back then. So it's important to do that. The other thing is you can also have special events. Now, I was involved with a cricket club for some years, and I still go to the cricket clubs from time to time, but a few years back they had their centenary of the cricket club, the West Torrens, and I was invited to go along and capture the event. There were many influential and star footballers and cricketers at the event. It was at the football park, which doesn't exist anymore, where the Crows and the Port Power used to play their footy, and it was a wonderful evening and lots of guest speakers, including the late David Hooks, who was one of the stars of our team and stars of the Australian cricket team, and other top players from Australian teams and South Australian teams as well, and district teams. So I managed to go there that night. I was shooting film then, and this was an album that I produced. I might be able to show you some of it up here. An album that I produced, and showing some of the events and the guest speakers and luminaries of the day. And you'll notice that I've got the logo up there, the West Torrens District Cricket Club, and you notice that I've got labels on these here too. See these little labels? They were the labels of the negatives of the shots that I took. I was shooting on film, so I ended up taking a lot of orders for those photos, and the photos that I took were included in a a booklet that was later produced by one of the historians of the cricket club on the centenary of the cricket club, and he's since won prizes for some of his books too. But there was a centerpiece put in the book of a collection of some of these photos, and that was a wonderful event, and it was a privilege to be able to do that. And one of the things you've got to remember when you are photographing people, and some of them were quite famous sportsmen, you just assume that you have authority as a photographer to ask people to stand this way and that way, because they will, because if they know you're doing the job and you're the official photographer and you present yourself with confidence and know what you're doing, you will be able to ask them to just, you've got to do that politely of course, ask them to get into position so you can improve the photograph. So, where am I up to now? So, the main thing to do is that you need to learn, I suppose, as a sports photographer, and it's good if you have played some sport, because when you are a sports person, you learn in whatever game it is, and whatever your position on the field is, you learn to anticipate the play, what's coming your way. And so when you are a photographer, sports photographer, you use that knowledge you had as a sportsman yourself, or you can learn how to do it. You anticipate what's going to happen, just coming your direction or going in that direction, and have your camera ready to take the shot when you can anticipate. I can see this, someone's going to take a big mark up in the air in a minute because of the way that ball's coming in high, someone's going to jump up high. Or I used to be able to sit at the cricket and watching test matches, and I'd be poised there with my camera looking through the viewfinder each time, and because I used to field in the slips, some of you will know what that means in cricket, I could anticipate by sitting up on the mound and focusing on where the batsman was. I could anticipate sometimes when a catch was going to be taken in the slips or by the wicketkeeper. And it's amazing, by just being there ready to take that shot all the time, I didn't have a motor drive, I was just doing one shot at a time, I got some really good photographs of wickets. And I've probably explained the rules of cricket before, if not I'll have to do that for you. So you get some great action shots if you can anticipate what's going on. So you've got to learn to do that. When I started filming lacrosse, I had no idea about lacrosse. When my kids started playing lacrosse, I thought they would go and play football and cricket like me, but they didn't. They played lacrosse. So I had to learn about it. I'd never seen a game until they played it. But I soon learned how the game goes and the rules and all that sort of stuff, and I managed to cover grand finals and presentation nights and all sorts of things, team photos. And so those are the sort of things that can develop just out of the blue like that if you follow your children's sports. So get the right equipment. Many people are content just to use their mobile phone, and that's fine. You can get some nice video and some good shots of the kids playing, and you can zoom a little bit with a mobile phone these days and you get really good results. But if you're serious, you really need a digital or a film SLR. Probably digital is better because film's very expensive and you need to take a lot of shots. So a digital SLR with both a short zoom and a wide to medium telephoto zoom and a longer one, and you need to be able to have that. I mean, a motor drive or the ability on a digital camera to shoot rapid shots in succession is great. I tend to not do that, although I've started to do a little bit just recently like that. I tend to try and anticipate the shot and do the single point focus on it. But that's probably not the best way to go when you're doing sports, but that's what I like to do because I learned how to do that with film. So make sure whenever you're out photographing that you've got an SD card that's got plenty of room on it, and your batteries are fully charged and you've got spare batteries, because nothing worse in any sort of photo shoot of running out of power to run your camera. I guess whether you're going to be an amateur of this, strictly amateur, or a professional even, or doing paid jobs, you just got to use your initiative. Sometimes people will ask you to do things. The gridiron photos that I took on Adelaide's Thebarton Oval was because I knew kids from lacrosse who were in the off-season of lacrosse were playing gridiron, a couple of guys, and one of them asked me to, through one of his friends for one of the local gridiron teams, asked me to come along and take some presentation night photos and also come along to a game. So I did that, and I managed to sell quite a few of those photos, and I've put an article about that on my blog. And I even had an American guy contact me from overseas when he saw that and saw some of my pictures of the lacrosse. Of the gridiron. He said, well, I was actually playing in that game, can you send me some photos? So I did. I sent some digital copies of the photos to him. So there you go. What else? I'm going to put some links to some of my blog and YouTube posts where I've talked about doing sports, and I'm also going to put a link to a young guy in rural America I discovered just recently, who is doing some amazing stuff with what they call seniors sports photography over in America. And he sets up special shots and takes some very dynamic images of young people who are emerging sports stars, girls and boys, over there in America, and the results he gets are fantastic. And he's sort of doing it I think he's probably just about ready to turn professional if he hasn't already, but his photography is amazing. So have a look. If I was still young enough to be starting out and trying to set up a business, I'd be trying to do what he's doing. But you need to have some good skills, which he's obviously got. So I'll put a link to him underneath as well. Yeah, but I'll sign off now, so thanks for watching, and like if you like, and subscribe if you wish, and I'll see you next time.